delay JavaScript loading. In your JavaScript code, how can you delay the loading of JavaScript code? Putting your script at the bottom of the page body lets the browser load the page first. So what that basically means is that if you look at my screen right now, you can see that all the JavaScript code that I have here is at the bottom of the page, which means that before JavaScript is being called on, my HTML and every other thing like the CSS, they must have load first, and then JavaScript part, which is what I have here before the closing body tag, will then be called upon. Now, while a script is downloading, the browser will not start any other downloads more than two components in parallel. So while a script is downloading, the browser will not start any other downloads. In addition, all passing and rendering activities might be blocked. So the reason why it's always a good practice to put your script at the bottom of the page body. There's nothing stopping you from putting your JavaScript code in any part of your code, but for performance reason, for performance issue, that is why the bottom of the page or the page body is always the recommended place. The HTTP specification defines that browsers should not download more than two components in parallel. So this can affect how your JavaScript perform if you put it in any other part of your code. Now, an alternative is to use defer true in the script tag. The defer attribute specifies that the script should be executed after the page has finished passing, but it only works for external scripts. So what that means is that, let's say I'm using an external script. I'm using something like this. So let's say I have something like this. Script source. Let's say I have script.js. Now I can defer it and put defer equals to true here. That is if I'm using an external JS. So by adding this defer attribute, it will simply tell the browser that the script should be executed only after the page has finished passing, but it only works with external scripts. So if you are doing internal code like I have been doing, it will not work. Only when you are referring to an external script is when this would work in JavaScript. So let's look at an example of that. So we'll take this out and jump back to normal script. Now, window dot unload. And I'm going to make a variable called element documents elements. And now look at this example. With this code now, I can add it to my page after the page has been loaded. So this code that I just put on the screen now can be added to my page after the page has been loaded. So this will reduce performance overhead or loading overhead in my code. And it also means that the element that I need to apply my script on would have already been loaded into the DOM, and then the JavaScript will be able to work on it. But without that, if the element that the script depends on to load has not been loaded into the DOM, then the function or the logic that is in your JavaScript might actually not do what you expect it to do, because of the fact that it might not be able to access the element as at when it is needed. So that is the advantage of putting code at the below body page, at the below part of your page. Let's talk about how to avoid using with. With is a keyword in JavaScript, and it has negative effect on speed. It also clutter up JavaScript code. The with keyword is not allowed in strict mode. When you are working in strict mode in JavaScript, I'm talking about having the JavaScript make use of use street. The with keyword is not going to work. It is not allowed to be used because it causes what is called performance lagging. So that is the reason why it will not work in strict mode, and it's clutter up JavaScript scopes in your code. So due to this negative effect, it is a kind of keyword that you should avoid using, in your code or in your project, due to the fact that it has a negative effect on speed. Don't forget that speed really matters in your application or in whatever code that you write, especially when it involves other people using it. Speed is a critical factor of whatever application that you are trying to build or project onto people. So the with keyword is a kind of drawback when you use it in your code, as it can cause a negative effect on speed and also clutter up JavaScript code.